In Chapter 3, Catnap has you. He throws you into a disposal chute. Not a fight, not a chase. He just drops you in and walks away. Catnap, who worships the prototype as a god who would do absolutely anything for him, chose that specific outcome when killing you on the spot was completely available. That's the moment this question starts. Not at the end of Chapter 5, not in some dramatic confrontation, in a garbage chute in Chapter 3, when nothing happened that easily could have. The prototype has had you dead to rights multiple times across 5 chapters and passed on every single one. That pattern doesn't make sense for a character this calculating unless there's a reason behind it. So, let's actually work through what that reason might be, because the answer changes depending on how deep you're willing to go. The obvious reading: you're useful. Walk through what you actually accomplished chapter by chapter. You take out Huggy Wuggy, who controlled the upper floors. The prototype collects his body. You kill Mommy Longlegs. The prototype takes her torso immediately after she dies. Before you've even left the room, you eliminate Catnap. The prototype absorbs his parts. 3 major obstacles to the prototype's complete control of the factory, and you removed all 3. He didn't have to fight any of them directly. You did it for him. Poppy figures this out before you do, which is partly why she won't let you leave in Chapter 1. She needs you on her side of the equation, because if you're not working toward her goals, you're working toward his, whether you know it or not. The prototype built a system where an outsider walking into the factory and trying to survive would naturally dismantle his competition. You're a weapon he never had to load. But this explanation has a ceiling. Tools get discarded. If you were purely functional, the moment your usefulness ran out, so would your life. And yet in Chapter 5, after you're no longer serving any obvious purpose for him, he doesn't execute you. He takes you to a vat of poppy gel. Slow, deliberate, with a specific destination. That's not how you dispose of something you're done with. What he actually says to you in Chapter 5. The first time the prototype speaks to you directly, face to face, he says, "And you, the outsider, the butcher they call you. Shall we see what you look like, wrong side out?" He knows your nickname. He knows your track record. He calls you an outsider, which is notable because it's the only category in the factory he doesn't fully control. Every experiment, every toy, every remnant of Playtime Company is part of a system he manages. You're the variable that bypassed all of it and arrived in his domain intact. The fan wiki notes that the prototype is aware you came to the factory to help end Playtime Co.'s atrocities, and that he respects your strength for making it this far. Coming from a character who has contempt for almost everyone around him, that's a meaningful detail. It doesn't mean he likes you. It means you registered as something worth noticing, which in his world is a rare thing. The poppy gel vat and what it might actually mean. There's a VHS tape in Chapter 4 that most people clock as background lore and move past. It reveals the prototype had been keeping Dr. Harley Sawyer alive to collaborate on something described as a breakthrough. Not keeping him comfortable, keeping him functional enough to keep working. The man who designed the Bigger Bodies Initiative, alive and presumably still researching, under the direct supervision of the entity who has every reason to want him dead. Poppy gel preserves toys. It's what kept Poppy stable for decades in her case. When the prototype takes you toward that vat, the possibility that he wasn't just disposing of you but preserving you for a purpose he hasn't revealed yet is worth sitting with. Chapter 5 ends with Sawyer's backup activating. Whatever that breakthrough was, it wasn't finished when the chapter ended. Ollie was never Ollie. Chapter 4 confirms that Ollie, the voice on the phone who guided you through Chapter 3 and into Chapter 4, was the prototype the whole time, which reframes everything. Because Ollie didn't just tolerate your survival, he actively managed it. He gave you information. He coached you through obstacles. He kept you moving forward and kept you alive long enough to get deeper into the factory than anyone else ever had. The cynical reading is straightforward. He was steering you toward the outcomes he needed, and your survival was a means to an end. But the human identity that the game strongly implies for the prototype is Oliver Ludwig, which connects him directly to Elliot Ludwig and to Poppy. If there's anything of that person still functioning inside what the prototype became, then the way he treated you through 5 chapters starts to look less like pure calculation. Not warm, not protective, but something in between that's harder to name. A recognition that doesn't fully translate into either keeping you safe or letting you die. The theory nobody talks about enough. The prototype's name has always been a little strange. Poppy was created before him. The Bigger Bodies initiative was already producing results. So, what was he a prototype of specifically? One interpretation is that he was the first successful attempt at resurrection, not transferring a living person into a toy body, but bringing back someone already dead. That would explain why he's numbered 1006 while being described as something fundamentally different from every other experiment, different in a way that predates the initiative rather than resulting from it. If that's what he is, then his entire psychology is built on an experience no other character in the game shares. He was brought back into a body that wasn't his, inside a system that treated him as a result rather than a person, surviving for years as something with no real category in the world he woke up in. And then you show up, an outsider with no institutional loyalty, operating purely on your own terms inside a system that was never designed to account for you. That profile overlaps with his in a way that nothing else in the factory does. Maybe that's why he keeps watching, not out of sentiment, but because you're the only thing in 5 chapters that's reminded him of himself. Where Chapter 5 leaves it, what Chapter 5 confirms is that Poppy was always the priority. Everything the prototype did across 5 chapters, the manipulation, the patience, the years of planning, led back to getting her. He tells her to come home. He damages her face during the tea party but stops short of destroying her. He wanted her contained, not dead. You were never the target. You were the variable he had to manage while he got to her. Now he has her. Poppy is captured. The tool has served its function, and the protection that came from being useful to him may not extend past this point. If Chapter 6 happens and everything points toward it being inevitable, the question isn't why the prototype kept you alive through 5 chapters. That has answers, most of them outlined here. The question is whether any of those reasons still apply now that he has what he wanted. Because for 5 chapters, your survival was part of his plan. The part that's genuinely unsettling isn't what he did. It's that you don't know yet whether the plan changed.